Thank you for looking to NATP for information on the economic impact payment that many taxpayers will receive in the near future. The goal of this webinar is to give you examples of taxpayer situations and how they impact whether someone receives a payment and how those payments are calculated. Our first example, we have Jeff and Mary who file a joint return in 2019. Their adjusted gross income is less than $150,000. That's your threshold when you're looking at a married filing joint return. They claim their son Joel, who is 20 and a full-time college student, as a dependent. What payment will they receive? This one's actually fairly straightforward. Jeff and Mary are eligible for $2,400 as their economic payment. They will not get $500 for Joel because he isn't a qualifying child under the age of 17. And Joel isn't eligible to receive a payment because he's a dependent of his parents. This is true even if he files withholding on a part-time job. With that said, we know that this could create a scenario that look like he would get a payment. Presumably, the IRS is going to be looking at ways to match these returns. Now we have Robert, who is single, and he's claims his 80-year-old mother tax return. His adjusted gross income was $87,000. Edna lives in a nursing home and earned $11,000. How much of an economic payment will they receive? First, we're going to look at Robert. He'll receive a $600 payment. And the reason why it's not the full $1,200 is it will be reduced $100 over the $75,000 threshold. So whenever you're looking at a single taxpayer, you're going to look for the $1,000 threshold. Robert will also not receive a payment for Edna, even though he's claiming her as a dependent. Like the prior example, you have to be a qualifying child under the age of 17. In this scenario, we have a little twist and something that could cause a problem. IRS stated that taxpayers who do not have a filing requirement and who are collecting Social Security or railroad retirement benefits will automatically receive an economic impact payment based on their current Form 1099 SSA or 1099 RRB. So it looks like they're just going to send Edna a payment anyways. And really, she shouldn't be eligible because she's claimed as a dependent on Robert's return. With that said, the IRS is aware of this problem and they're going to be looking at potential solutions. What if we have a change in marital status? So we have Peter and Jan who are married in 2018 and they file a joint return. In 2019, they finished their divorce. And at this point, they haven't filed their 2019 return. In 2018, the tax refund was deposited in Jan's bank account. So it's only her name on that account. What economic impact payment will each receive and where will it be deposited? Well, unless if Peter files a 2019 return with bank account information, it's going to go in Jan's account and he won't receive an economic impact payment. The IRS is developing an online portal to provide bank account information. So if he gets out there and enters it right away, it may help prevent the scenario where it will all go to her bank account. However, we don't have information at this time on when this portal will be up and running. So this could be a timing issue. Can he get in there before that check is direct deposited into her account? What about taxpayers who have children who change ages? So we're going to look at a scenario with Justin and Crystal who filed their 2018 return and claim their 16-year-old daughter, Olivia. In 2019, actually in May, Olivia is going to turn 17. So based on their 2018 return, Justin and Crystal are eligible for a $500 payment for Olivia. If they file their 2019 return, while Olivia qualifies as a dependent on their tax return, they're no longer eligible for that $500 economic impact payment because she's 17 years old. Keep in mind, she's still going to get the other dependent credit for them on their tax return. The $500 payment will be reconciled when the parents file their 2020 tax return. It is a refundable credit and does not have to be repaid if too much was received. So now we have Louisa. So she is 19 and lives at home with her parents. and had no income for 2019 either. So obviously, her parents are going to claim her on a tax return. And a question we received was, well, can I just file a zero return and still get the payment? The answer is no. You're a dependent. So like prior examples where we've stated dependents are not eligible for this payment. So this is probably going to be one of those scenarios that is going to be ran through a matching process even if she tries to file that return. Next, let's look at a scenario where there's a change in AGI and the birth of a dependent in 2019. So in this scenario, we have Jake and Marcy who filed jointly in 2018, and their adjusted gross income was $150,000. In 2019, their AGI increases to $175,000, and they welcome their first child. So let's take a look at what their payments would be based on the year that the IRS would use to determine their economic relief payment. Well, if the couple has not filed their 2019 return, the IRS will base that economic impact payment on their 2018 return. So in this case, they would receive $2,400 if they don't file before the payment is dispersed. It also means they're not going to get the additional $500 for their child. But if we take a look at filing a 19 return, what does that impact look like? Well, it would actually be less of a payment. So they would be eligible for $1,650, even though your base amount that you're looking at would be the $2,900 because it's married filing joint plus the dependent. It has to be reduced because their AGI is above that filing threshold. So in this case, they have two options. One, file their 2019 tax return and receive the $1,650, or wait to file their 19 return until after they receive that $2,400 payment. With that said, on their 2020 return, they would be eligible for the $500 child credit. So once they file that return, it's going to reconcile out. We've also had questions regarding married filing separate and really what should you be using. And again, the IRS doesn't always specifically state what threshold for married filing separate they should use. It'll say single taxpayers or all other taxpayers. So in this case, we're going to take a look at both of for Pat and Sam. So Pat's AGI is $60,000, while Sam's is $85,000. So what payments are they going to receive? Well, Pat's stimulus payment will be the $1,200. They look at married filing separate the same way they will as a single taxpayer. So we're looking at that $75,000 threshold again. Sam's stimulus payment will be $700, and it has to be reduced because his AGI is above that $75,000 threshold amount. And again, an easy way to think of it is that amount is reduced by $5 by every $100 over the threshold. We've also heard questions about divorced couples with dependents. So in this case, we have Brad and Ellen who are divorced, and they alternate who claims their 5-year-old son Todd on their tax return. So in 2018, Brad claimed Todd. However, in 19, Ellen will file as head of household and claim Todd as a dependent. In this scenario, we want to assume both of their AGIs are below the filing threshold amounts. So if Brad does not file a 2019 return before the economic impact payment is issued, he receives $1,700. You have the $1,200 based on his filing status plus the $500 for Todd. If Ellen files her 2019 return before then, she will also receive the $1,700. Again, $1,200 based on her filing status plus the $500 for her son. What about U.S. citizens living abroad? Well, David is a U.S. citizen and he's living and working abroad. So when he files his 2019 tax return, he's going to exclude all of his foreign sourced income. Obviously, his AGI is going to be below the threshold amount, essentially zero. Will David receive an economic impact payment? And in this case, yes. So even though he doesn't live in the US, David still fits the criteria for eligibility. He will receive $1,200. With that said, we're aware that in earlier versions of the bill, it looked like there was going to be an earned income threshold. However, as the bill went through approval process and the final version, it does not have that earned income threshold limit. In our last example, we have a single full-time college student. So we have Anne, she's single, no dependents. She was a full-time graduate student in both 2018 and 19 and had no earned income. So she didn't file a tax return in either year. She didn't have to. Will Anne receive an economic impact payment? Well, if she doesn't file her returns, no. The IRS doesn't have any other sourced documents to match to see if she should be eligible. With that said, if she files a 2020 return in 2021, she will receive a credit against her 2020 tax liability. NATP has many great resources to help every tax professional navigate through the current situation our country is dealing with. Visit natptax.com and find the following resources. We have tax news and FAQs that we update on a daily basis, information to help run your office through the COVID-19 situation, newsletters that you can print and send to your clients. We have a CARES Act webinar that provides a summary of some of the provisions in the bill, and a CARES Act summary that goes into more depth of what that bill really covers. So thank you for listening. I hope you guys stay safe and stay healthy and have a great day.